Hello everyone!
Especially to our instructor, Dr. Marilyn P. Makapangal.
I am Melrose Itubato.
And I am Charmin Divina Tinambakan.
We are your reporter for today's video.
Ngayon ang araw ng pagbabago upang tayong lahat ay unlad at aasenso. Tayong lahat ay magkakaroon ng magandang buhay.
Magandang buhay.
Panahon na upang makamit natin ang tagumpay. Negosyo talday, kaya't halika na. Tayo'y magtulungan, ating pagyamanin ang ating inang bayan. Ikaw at ako ay may magandang patutunguhan, negosyo taday at mahal kong mga kaibigan. Mauna niyang panahon, nakita mo uswag. Mga programas nor sumaayog, nagdalag kahayag. Ang mga pobrehon atong matabangan. Italilig magtinapulan. Kaya't halika na, tayo'y magtulungan, ating pagyamanin ang ating inang bayan. Ikaw at ako ay may magandang patutunguhan, negosyo taday at mahal kong mga kaibigan. Magnegosyo na ta mga higala ug atong palambuon ang nasugdanta aron sa unahan mabato na nato ang kalipay ug sa kalisod sa kinabuhi mo hupay. Magnegosyo taday, kaya't halika na. Tayo'y magtulungan, ating pagyamanin ang ating inang bayan. Ikaw at ako ay may magandang patutunguhan, negosyo taday at mahal kong mga kaibigan.
In today's session, our topic is all about project implementation, and we will discuss to you how a project is implemented together with a processes a manager to perform in this stage.
In this session, I am going to discuss the objectives as well as the agenda, and the last one is project life cycle, which is very important to tackle. Let me discuss first the objectives. First is, we will describe how a project plan is implemented. Second is, we will enumerate and discuss the phases of project implementation. And lastly, we will define the processes involved in implementing a project plan. So these are the following agenda of our assigned report. So first is project implementation. Second is putting the plan into action. Third is monitoring at checkpoints. So this is the project life cycle. In the center, we have a project communication. Project communication is very important in implementing a project because without strong communication skills, project managers would find it incredibly difficult, if not impossible, to effectively manage their teams and coordinate efforts in order to bring about a project's successful resolution. Project communication comprises of 4 elements such as the project definition, detailed planning, monitoring and control, and post-execution review. Let us go first with the project definition. In project definition, it includes identifying your projects so that you can be able to make a wise planning. Like for example, your project will be a coffee shop. Example lang na siya. And once you have defined your project, your next step is to make a detailed planning, like detailed preparation to ensure that activities to be performed in the implementation stage are properly sequenced, resourced, executed, and controlled. After finalizing your plans, you have to put into action, meaning to say you have to apply the plans you have made. Plan is to put into action. Deliverables are physical, constructed, and presented to the customer for acceptance. So let's go back with the example that we have the coffee shop. The first is to find a place or locate where you can place your coffee shop in the urban areas. Second, prepare necessary things needed in the construction coffee shop such as the building permit, construction materials, workers, and so on. In the process of working the project, you have to monitor and control so that you can assure that your project will be successful. Under monitoring and control, there is project closing and evaluation. Project success is evaluated and documented, also closing done formally so project benefits are fully realized by the customer. The last step in the implementation project is post-execution review. In this step, it includes reviewing whether there are problems encountered in process of project implementation. That is why we have a project initiation to address problems or lapses immediately. So first, problem or opportunity is identified and solution is agreed upon. Second is project form to produce the solution. Third is project scope is defined. Lastly is project team formed.
That's all my report, and I hope you got something about project lifestyle, and the next reporter will be Miss Charmin Tinambakan.
Project implementation. Project implementation is usually the longest stage of the project. This is when the project plan is actually activated, deliverables are constructed, and project activities are done. So later on, I will discuss to you what is really deliverables under project implementation. But for now, I am going to discuss further about what really is a project implementation. So project implementation is also known as a project execution because it is the phase where visions and plans become reality. This is the logical conclusion after evaluating, deciding, visioning, planning, applying for funds, and finding a financial resources of a project. So project implementation involves um, direct, direct managing in a project to ensure it meets the objectives outlined in the planning phase. Yet, project implementation is very important for project managers and the strategic planning process because it can reveal new issues and challenges that planners may not have anticipated or predict and expect. The project implementation activities. The first one there is putting plan into the action. So we all know that before we make a decision, we need to have plans. We need to decide, or we need to make plans for our decision to be right, diba? So what is putting plan into the action really means under project implementation activities? So it is a communication device that represents an extreme simplification of complex programs and projects. So I will cite an example of putting plan into action. So for example, a city might use an action plan to communicate plans to improve a neighborhood with more green space, facilities, living streets, and improve training services. So, diba, it really need to put plan in every action or in every decision. So the next one there is the monitoring at checkpoints. So checkpoints, that mean there is not literally the checkpoints that happened on highways. Monitoring at checkpoints in implementation activities is, for instance, there is always one staff that is assigned to check that site wherein the project implementation occurred. It is a management tool for tracking progress of ongoing projects and is an integral part of the project execution. So it is essential, no, to completing a project on time, on budget, and within the scope. So monitoring and checkpoints control ensure that it ensures that monitoring process identify deviations from a project plan. So deviation is the action of departing from an established course or accepted standard. So the last one there is the formative evaluation. So formative evaluation is usually undertaken early in the development of the program to inform the providers and stakeholders about the trends in results. For instance, asking the students to draw a concept map in class to represent their understanding of a certain topic. So in this phase, the deliverables are built and project plans are activated. So there are two ways to build deliverables, the waterfall and iterative. So now I am going to show to you the waterfall model. So why do you think it is called a waterfall model? So it is termed waterfall because the model develops systematically from one phase to another in a downward fashion, as you can see. The waterfall model is a classical model used in system development life cycle to create a system with linear and sequential approach. So this is a model for iterative. So it is called the iterative model because at each iteration, design modifications are made and new functional capabilities are added. So the basic idea behind this method is to develop a system through repeated cycles. It is important that the project team works together. Therefore, as project managers, we must ensure that all members are highly involved in project activities through the delegation, volunteerism, and the decision making. So at the end of the implementation phase, the project should be evaluated to ensure that project has achieved its objective as planned. So this can be performed in the two ways, the implementation evaluation and the progress evaluation that I have been discussed earlier. So I hope you learned something and thank you so much.